do want to use this as a transition point to talk about the future of cinema at large. Obviously, the MCU is going to be a part of it, but I wanted to bring this up specifically because you look at the announcements that we got this last week.
Yeah.
In which we saw announcements for a sequel to I Am Legend, Hellboy, Starsky and Hutch, How to Train Your Dragon live action, a fourth Riddick film, Toy Story 5, Frozen 3. The major
Zootopia
studios,
2.
Exactly. The major studios are doing nothing but IP. And they've been doing this a lot, obviously, for the last 15, 20 years, but it's almost exclusively that now. Unless we're talking about horror, that's a little bit of a different ballgame, although you still have horror IP making its way
it's
into
cheaper
it as
to make.
well. But yeah, you can make a horror film for $3 million and it makes gobs of money. And so that's a little bit of a different talking point. But the major studios are mostly investing in 17 Fast and the Furious movies. Marvel, DC, we're rebooting Hellboy for a third time, I guess. Starsky and Hutch, for God knows whatever reason. I Am Legend, because why not? So I bring this up to say...
Jaden's coming back, baby.
When we're talking about the future of cinema, like, how worried should we be? Like, is theatrical
I got statistics.
distribution...
Oh, wow.
Okay.
The finance guy has statistics. I want to hear this.
All right. So I was listening to a podcast last week, the Bill Simmons podcast. He had this guy on who's like making predictions about the future. And they started talking about movie theaters. And he was like, movie theaters, I'm worried about him. His theory is that they're going to become more luxury. It'll be more like Broadway or whatever, which I think is impossible, but that's what he thinks. But he had some statistics. He was comparing 2022 to 2002. And in the year 2002, 45 movies sold 10 million tickets. In 2022, that number was 20. So it went from 45 to 20. In 2002, the top 10 highest grossing films accounted for 22% of the box office. In 2022, the top 10 movies accounted for 50% of the box office. So what that means is you have a much smaller bullseye. There are going to be fewer hits, so you have to count on reliability, brand identity, brand loyalty. And so you have these more sure things. If they're going to sink a lot of money into a movie, Toy Story 4 did well. I know it seemed like it was the last one. Let's do it again.
Yeah.
How to Train Your Dragon.
That's what makes a Hellboy movie head-scratching.
Well, I don't disagree with that, other than the Marvel piece of it.
Give it to Guillermo del Toro.
Well, yeah, they did.
The Hellboy thing is weird.
The Golden Army did not do
a fourth Riddick movie. I'm pretty sure the last one didn't do great either.
See, okay, now this is where it gets interesting. It's like because I don't mind the pulling from IP to maybe mitigate certain financial conundrums that box offices are dealing with. I mean, look how well it did for Top Gun Maverick. That was a great example of using IP to do something special.
I mean,
and
Brendan,
with it.
even Avatar is IP now.
Technically, yeah, you're not wrong with that.
It's an original IP. I mean, like that is the one thing you can say about it, as opposed to like a Marvel or a DC.
Yeah,
right.
These are, or even, and I'm gonna say, and JD made a
original
comment.
Is a little bit of a stretch, though.
Well, it came. I mean, okay.
Original, yes,
it's
but
a
also,
sequel
but
to a
it came
quote-unquote
from
original
really.
movie.
It
even
came
if it is
originally
Ferngully.
it came from the screen.
Twisted Mind.
Yeah.
Well, I will say that, and
Dances
James-
with Wolves.
hey, listen,
Big Jim.
Pocahontas.
listen.
Princess
I'm not gonna
Mononoke.
make you guys make me defend Big Jim again, because I will.
Love
damn it.
that. We love how you
but
do these
Saying
there.
original and Avatar.
But I'll give. I mean, if you watch Avatar 2, there's
based on an original screenplay.
It's based on an original screenplay, and that's the thing.
technically
It's based off, and Top Gun is based
created
off
a world.
an original IP specifically made for the screen. That's what you can say these about that. Like Fast and the Furious,
I guess,
wasn't based off a book, or it wasn't based off of something from 30 years ago. That was, I mean, yes, it's kind of a Point Break ripoff, but they've sort of morphed into their own thing, and they are trying to top themselves and at least be original, going
Those are
forward.
very original films because they challenge you to think, what if cars went vroom, vroom fast?
Exactly.
Which is-
And also,
What if cars were in space?
Also,
And
the
also
Riddick thing, I just looked up the
family.
Riddick thing. Riddick is a Universal Studios film. Vin Diesel can get whatever movie he wants made at Universal for the rest of his life. So
yeah,
Universal
he's like
Studios-
Clint Eastwood to them. You know what I mean?
Universal Studios, I think, is a huge, huge topical or thematic through line between these new films that you just threw out there, JD, that are being rebooted, connected to IP. Some of these I think are pretty interesting choices. No one really knows what Starsky and Hutch is anymore, so there's probably some interesting opportunity that you can do with that makes it seem original.
But they also balance that out with new films from Jordan Peele and Christopher Nolan. Like they're not just in the IP game. They're for every Fast and Furious movie, they're going to make an Oppenheimer.
But then
give
what
them
scares?
that. At least,
I don't know, Ryan. I mean, I feel like most of the announcement, unless you're already a proven name like Christopher Nolan, who
Universal also does.
During 2000, filmmakers were still able to do that, so he's grandfathered into this situation. But almost every announcement I see is let's do some sort of legacy sequel, or we're going to up the ante with IP like that from the major studios. Now there's independent studios, which is a different ballgame.
Yeah,
but from the major studios, unless you're a Scorsese or unless you're already in the club,
well, Scorsese can't get
going
movies
to be hard
made.
to break through because all it is these IP movies or these remakes, and then the trick to get into the club, I feel like now, will be you are handed a Hellboy, make something interesting out of it.
Well, that's the
and
thing.
Then if
It's
you
like,
succeed there, then maybe you get to make Oppenheimer next.
I mean, look at it. You look over at Netflix and Apple and Amazon. They have all of our auteur filmmakers.
but also that well is running dry.
It's running.
Streamers are done doing that stuff. They're done.
Well, I don't. No, I don't buy that.
They're done doing that stuff.
They're not
completely done.
They're
but
not done.
Netflix is bleeding money. Disney Plus
Netflix
is,
might be done, but I don't know if the other ones are.
I mean, Apple. Here's the thing: is Disney, Apple, and Amazon are not just film studios, so they will never be done. I never think that they will be done because they have other forms of cash flow other than just their films. To be fair, and Netflix's own reluctancy to not want to go.
Yeah, but they're not going to
theaters.
continue an arm of their business that isn't making money.
Oh no, they will totally do that, Jay. I mean, like you look at Amazon, they just literally proved you wrong by going and getting a Ben Affleck, Matt Damon movie and saying we're going to put that exclusively in a theater, and that movie will probably
I said
not
running
make
dry. It's not done yet.
You know, and
Because
so
they're already in the club.
and Apple, I mean, Apple
Yeah.
is barely even. I mean, they just won a Best Picture and it just won a bunch of Emmys.
Again,
and
you're
it's,
talking about the
know,
past. I'm just saying they've got a bunch of stuff on the
A
slate.
past was
They probably got
last year.
several things in production, but
They have
the streaming,
they also-
the myth of streaming is coming to light.
They
It
have
is-
a Martin
it is so
Scorsese
clear
movie
that it
and
is
a
not
Ridley Scott movie
worth
coming
it
out.
for them.
They're fine.
Yes, I know. This year,
You're
last
talking-
year, 2022 was the year of reckoning for streamers. Disney Plus is losing streamers. Netflix is losing streamers.
They're losing streamers because of their price hikes and a bunch of other different things as well. But I think personally for me, you know, you look at Universal, you're bringing up their slate. One last thing about it is like they also are the home of Spielberg. They're the home of Jordan Peele. They're the home of Christopher Nolan now for the foreseeable future. They are going to they have a balance. They actually have the balance that Warner Brothers used to have, where Warner Brothers would have a Dune and then they would have a King Richard and then they would have, you know, their DC movies or whatever. I think that's the thing. It's like when we see also a bunch of films that get dumped, like the IP dump of sequels and, you know, meta sequels or whatever, all this other stuff, when all that happens, then we never truly think about then, okay, well, those are the things that everybody in the trades are seeing, but then there's also like the other things that go alongside of it. It's a balanced thing every single year with these movie studios. I think that the problem is that what we want to see balance within the box office results. And that is that's more difficult. That's very difficult because like, you know, you look at Fast and Furious, it's going to probably make $1 billion, right? Oppenheimer, you hope, because Nolan's pretty much always been a pretty reliable guy.
Marketing his movies in a way that gets people curious about them to go see.
I mean, Dunkirk made like $700-800 million, I believe, or something like that, or $600 million or something like that. And like that's a movie,
and it was a short enough movie that you can add enough screenings
Exactly.
at theaters to really get people in. More,
hour
more
45 movie about that's not even about America, and you and you had it like at the number one of the box office. Like,
yeah,
you know what I mean? And so there's the balance that goes along with it, but I
just don't know if it's there. You're way more optimistic on this than I am.
Well,
I'm pretty concerned.
I want to bring up something that concerns me. I know we just lost Jay, just given his potential internet connection, but we're going to keep the show going. If there's one form of IP you listed there, JD, that actually concerns me the most, and I'm wondering if I'm going to get pushback from either of you on this. Maybe you mostly, JD, but this live action How to Train Your Dragon movie scares the living crap out of me.
I don't want it.
I don't want it at all. Well, see, I was okay with it until I heard Dean DeBlois writing and directing it. And now John Powell is confirmed to score it. So now
that's
thinking,
the only good news.
That's terrible news. What are you talking about? That's just them doing the Lion King again. It's the same movie, it sounds like. The only way I'll accept this is if it's a How to Train Your Dragon 4. That's the only way I'll accept it at this point.
I mean,
because now I'm just seeing they're just
John
doing
Powell's
the same
too good
movie.
of a composer.
Do a different movie. Do a different movie. I don't need
disagree,
I don't need to hear the same thing again. This, this
week
really scares me.
Brendan, this week I was going to make a jab in our text message chain about this whole How to Train Your Dragon live action thing. And then like literally 2 hours later, they announced Toy Story 5 and I went, oh, I hate this life. It's just,
way more
because JD and I have been back and forth, and Jay's returned with the Captain America mask on. JD and I have been back and forth with those
totally
two franchises.
Missed my rant on How to Train Your Dragon.
But that'll be great.
But no,
you're being sarcastic, right?
Huh?
I mean,
I think this is the worst news ever. This How to Train Your Dragon.
Oh, it's gonna be terrible. Yeah, I don't want
I'm not looking forward to it either. I did want to ask you guys though about this I Am Legend sequel.
Oh,
because where I think it is somewhat compelling is that it is a sequel that is using
an alternative
ending to the previous movie. I don't know if I've seen that. Have you? Well,
guys? I have seen it.
Means.
I have seen it recently, and that is that when they released the new cut of The Godfather Part 3, the Coppola cut, and also this new cut of like Rocky 4, essentially, because they have now like, I believe, because like in the new, spoiler alert for The Godfather Part 3, the Coda edition or whatever the hell it's called. I don't believe Michael dies at the end of the film, so it would open up the door if they ever did want to do
recanonizing.
Yeah, it's recanonizing it. Now, the ending to I Am Legend was always controversial, and that ending has been around for years on like the bonus disc, and like people go back and forth whether they like it or not.
A big talking point.
That's the thing.
movie.
I think that alternate ending became kind of a fan favorite for many people. I think it was one of those cases where the movie came out at a certain time when studios were more afraid to put a more daring conclusion to their commercial films like that. And I think there was pushback in that regard, but I think the response to that specific alternate ending in comparison to the ending that was actually chosen for the theatrical film, it was sort of a retroactive decision like, I think we made the wrong choice. Let's recanonize this movie, which is, to your point, JD, that's an interesting choice.
And I don't know if I've seen that. I mean, and the big difference between that and what you're talking about, Ryan, is they just simply recut those movies.
They
didn't
did
reshoot anything. Like they are making a whole new movie that is based off of that alternate ending.
Based off of a bonus feature on the DVD.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's kind of fascinating.
I mean, the only thing that the problem with that
kind of did it in Blade Runner 2049.
Yeah, kind of, I guess. Yeah, because
that movie has like 6 different cuts,
700 cuts,
that movie
and the definitive cut is like the one that
the definitive 4K remastered. We promise you, this is the last time we're cutting this movie edition of Blade Runner.
But then again, when you go into a Ridley Scott movie, you're not seeing the final version.
No, you're never seeing
the recanonized version of that movie.
But no, I think that it will be also very interesting when that movie does come out, because like unless because it's Warner Brothers, right? It's a Warner Brothers property, if I'm not mistaken. If they on HBO Max or wherever, they're going to stream it. If like you now have to buy it when you want to rent it, does it have the new or that alternative ending now put into it? Or does it still have the other one? To which then people are going to go,
good point. Honestly.
"What the hell is this movie? Like, what is
adds
this
a lot
movie?"
more work for them, because do they have to retroactively like pull whatever is on any streaming or rental service to actually have this new version of the movie now? It's
honestly,
they'll have some release called like I Am Legend Point
1.5 or something.
honestly, honestly, guys,
I Am Legendary is what
it's with, and the sequel's going to have Will Smith. So this whole conversation just feels like a slap in the face.
Michael B.
towards
Jordan will be
audiences,
there too, right?
Heyo.
I guess yeah.
Oh,
So
is
it's not gonna be
Michael B
Chris Rock
playing
and
his son?
Yeah, I
Michael
think
B.
so.
Jordan is in it as well. So
Sorry, Jaden.
I don't know if he's playing his son, but he's in the movie.
Man,
Yeah.
It
Michael
still
B.
might
Jordan
end up
just in
being
every
After Earth
franchise.
Part 2 for all we know.
Remember
Hey.
when Michael B was going to be Morpheus? That was wild.